Greetings. This is StopFake, a program about lies and manipulations in the media. My name is George Sajewych. At the end of October, many countries of the world hold a week of media and information literacy. We've also decided to make our contribution to these global efforts, and in today's edition, we have a collection of tips and advice that might help you avoid drowning in a sea of disinformation and falling victim to propagandists of all stripes. Let's start by checking the information in the header. This is the first dangerous bait that the bad guys have prepared for you. If the headline, in addition to informing, screams shock, sensation, video breaks the internet, this should alert you. Never judge the content of a news story by title alone. Here is a fresh example. A site publishes the message, "Bad news for Ukrainians. Two countries have canceled visa-free." Way to go, Ukraine. Frightened users of social networks and instant messengers actively comment and repost. The title, after all, implies that something truly significant has happened. Under the term visa-free, we understand the opportunity to travel freely to European countries. However, what has happened in reality? If you carefully read the text itself, this is a message about something that has no relevance for Ukrainians. It appears that in 2019, the African states of Djibouti and Benin changed their visa policy, and not only for Ukrainians, but for all foreigners. In this case, as in many others, the authors deliberately formulate the headlines in such a way as to evoke an emotional response so that you click on them and, without even reading the contents, share the news with your friends on social networks. There are many people who consume the news only by looking at the headlines. This tactic, also known as clickbait, is designed primarily for them. Be sure to read the entire item to the end. Pay attention to the presence of sources in the text. Real journalists indicate where they got their information, cite any confirmation, perhaps a quote from an official or an expert, with his or her name, organization, and position. The text should contain active links that allow you to personally familiarize yourself with the original source. The absence of such information, or instead links to unnamed British, Chinese, etc. scientists, or just a post on a social network, is a sign that someone is trying to trick you. Several years ago, we caught the Russian state-owned TV channel RT present a New York-based auto insurance dealer as an American expert on international politics. Also pay attention to the author of the article. Who is he? Some anonymous who hides behind a witty pseudonym, or is it a real person? Look for additional information on search engines. On what topics does he or she usually write and where? This will help you assess the author's qualifications, experience, and competence. Another very important point is the source of the information. Is this resource an officially registered media outlet or a marginal site that does not list its editorial staff and contact details? Try to find information about the founders. Real media will not hide who its owners are, nor the source of funding. If there is no such data, that's a good reason to have concerns about the reliability of such a source. Pay attention to the title of the page. Sometimes information garbage sites are disguised as well-known media organizations. A logo where the words BBC and CNN appear in the name at the same time should alert you, as should domain names ending in .cc, .biz, .narod.ru, etc. The tricks that garbage sites go to in order to attract readers. One way is to publish stories, not always entirely truthful, that evoke violent emotions in the audience. Here is a typical example. The father of a raped 14-year-old girl exacted revenge on the rapist right in the courtroom. After the verdict was announced, he, considering it too soft, threw 3 knives at the perpetrator, one after another, killing him. This story actively circulated on a Ukrainian segment of social networks. Users reacted very emotionally. Hundreds of commentators expressed sympathy with the girl and her father, gloated over the death of the rapist, and condemned the corruption of our judges. The story, obviously, turned out to be an old fiction. But why would someone lie and invent a fiction and publish this fake again and again, you ask? The answer lies on the surface. Such stories are of great interest to readers. They do not think about the veracity of the facts, emotionally comment on the invention, and actively share it with friends and acquaintances in social networks and instant messengers. Exactly the reaction that evildoers who publish such nonsense expect from you. This helps them promote their sites and groups on Facebook and Telegram. What can this story teach us? First, you need to be selective with your sources of information. Do not use garbage sites at all. The logic is the same as with food. We don't go through trash cans to find something edible. For quality food, we go to a reliable supplier. And for reliable information, we go to an authoritative source. And finally, we do not disseminate on social media anything taken from suspicious sources and obvious slime buckets, even if the information happens to be true, because by doing this, you help evildoers increase their audience. Another tactic popular with propagandists is to pass off someone's private opinion as the official position of the authorities. For example, some pro-Russian expert living in the United States writes that he considers Crimea to be Russian. And the news with this manipulative title goes viral on the internet. Or a letter is received in Crimea from the office of the British Queen with the address Russia, Crimea on the envelope. This is turned into a pseudo-sensation, alleging that the United Kingdom has officially recognized the annexation of the peninsula. Or another recent example, a former Ukrainian politician voices on social network his demand that residents of the occupied Crimea and districts of Donetsk and Luhansk regions be made to publicly repent for their cooperation with the aggressor. The propagandists, however, push onto the viewers the idea that this is the Ukrainian government's official policy. I admit my guilt. I sincerely repent and ask the Ukrainian people and the state for forgiveness for the crime I have committed. Please apply to me the procedure of forgiveness and alternative punishment. In case of refusal from this humiliating procedure, all those unrepentant will face prison. This is very reminiscent of how a few years ago, Russian mass media made news out of such absurd petitions sent to the website of the President of Ukraine. Any citizen, anyone at all, could write such a petition. Russian TV channels, however, passed them off as reflecting the plans of the Ukrainian authorities. Often in the Russian media, you might see articles about how some foreigner admired something Russian. Try it yourself. Type in Google the phrase Bulgarians admired or Americans admired in Russian, and you will see listed thousands of similar publications. Is there anything Russian that the world does not admire? There's the most modern Russian weapons, inventions for civilian use, and even Putin himself. However, almost all of these articles were created by Russian propagandists according to the same uncomplicated model. They themselves leave comments under the article in a foreign publication and then pass this off as reflecting massive support. Previously, only marginal publications used this technique, but now the news feeds from Russian federal news agencies and TV channels are full of similar examples of pseudo-journalism. Therefore, keep in mind, behind every headline with the words admired or delighted is most likely some kind of idiocy on the part of Russian propagandists trying to pass off wishful thinking for reality. This was another edition of our StopFake program. You can find many more tips on how to check information on our StopFake.org website, which has a special section called Tools. And we continue to monitor the work of the propagandists in order to expose their lies and manipulations. If you see something suspicious, send it to us for verification. George Sajewych was your host. See you in exactly 1 week. Cheers.